Okay, so picture this. You're a king, you've got, a major geopolitical crisis on your hands, and right in the middle of all that stress, you get sick.
And not just a cold.
No, this is bad. You're bedridden, you know it's serious, and you're just waiting for the official word.
And that word doesn't come from a doctor in a lab coat. It comes from a prophet.
Right, and not just any prophet. We're talking about Isaiah. He's the heavy hitter, the guy who normally shows up to deliver bad news to entire countries.
And he walks into your room, and the message he has is, well, it's terrifyingly clear.
It really is. Today we're doing a deep dive into Isaiah chapter 38 and 2 Kings chapter 20. And the reason we're focusing on this story isn't just because it's about a miraculous healing.
No, we're looking at something more specific,
Yeah.
a kind of a mechanism of authority. We're framing this as the verdict versus the petition.
I like that because when you hear the word verdict, especially from God, you think, well, that's it, case closed.
Exactly. But what this story suggests is that sometimes a verdict, even one that sounds completely final, might actually be the start of a conversation. We're talking about King Hezekiah.
So just to set the stage a little bit, who was Hezekiah?
In the grand scheme of things, he's one of the good ones, a real reformer. He was tearing down idols, trying to get the nation focused back on God. But right now, the text says he's sick unto death.
This isn't just the flu,
No, this is terminal, and that's when Isaiah shows up.
and the language he uses, it's almost legal. From Isaiah 38, it says, "Thus says the Lord, set your house in order, for you shall die and not live."
Set your house in order. That's not just advice, it's a command to, name your successor, get the will sorted.
It's basically a state planning on a divine deadline.
And notice the way he doubles down, you shall die.
And not live.
Yeah.
That's the part that always gets me. Why add that? It feels redundant.
I think it's to remove any and all ambiguity. Sometimes prophets speak in metaphors, the nation is dying, that kind of thing. This was God, through Isaiah, making it crystal clear.
This is literal. Your body is shutting down. This is the end.
Exactly. So here's the tension. You have the ultimate authority, God, delivering a final verdict through his chosen messenger.
And for most of us, I think our first reaction will be, okay, I guess I just have to accept this.
Right. We tend to confuse faith with a kind of fatalism. That being pious means you just have to roll over and accept whatever comes.
But Hezekiah doesn't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, he rolls over physically, but not spiritually. The text says he turned his face toward the wall.
And that detail is so important.
Let's unpack that a little. Is he just pouting? Like, leave me alone.
I don't think so. I think it's more like sensory deprivation. Imagine that room. You've got doctors, servants, family members crying. Isaiah, the prophet, is standing there. By turning to the wall, Hezekiah is literally shutting all of that out. He's blocking out the prophet, blocking out the verdict to go straight to the source.
He's going over the messenger's head to talk to the manager.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
And the prayer he prays. It's a little surprising, isn't it? It sounds almost transactional. He says, "Remember now, O Lord, how I have walked before you in truth and with a perfect heart." He's basically listing his accomplishments.
He's reading his resume?
Yeah. Is it? Okay. It
Yeah.
feels a little arrogant. Like, God, you owe me because I've been good.
Well, it's easy to see it that way. But
Yeah.
in the covenant context of the time, he's not really claiming to be sinless. He's making an appeal based on his faithfulness to the relationship.
Yeah.
It's less, I earned this, and more, I'm your servant and my work isn't done.
Okay, like an employee saying, look, I've been loyal to this company's mission. Don't let me go now.
Exactly. And then you have the emotional side of it. He doesn't just present the facts. The text says he wept sore.
See, that's what balances it out for me. If it was just a transaction, he'd be cold about it. But the weeping, this is a desperate, heartbroken plea.
He's terrified. He's bringing his logic, his resume, but he's also bringing his raw, unfiltered emotion.
It's the whole package, head and heart.
And that combination seems to trigger something incredible in the story.
The pivot.
The pivot.
This part reads like a movie. Because
Mhm.
usually you'd expect, a long period of waiting.
But the account in 2 Kings gives us this little detail that changes everything. It says, Isaiah had not yet gone out into the middle court.
Okay, so let's visualize that. Isaiah delivers the death sentence, turns around, walks out of the bedroom.
And before he's even made it across the courtyard of the palace,
Bam. The word of the Lord comes to him again.
turn around.
It's immediate. I mean, there's no deliberation. The response to Hezekiah's prayer was instantaneous.
Which implies God was listening in real time.
And it suggests that the verdict wasn't some fixed point in the future. It was more like a conditional present.
That's a really good way to think about it. The trajectory he was on led to death, but the prayer changed the trajectory.
So Isaiah has to walk back in. That must have been awkward. Hey, you know that thing I said 5 minutes ago? Never mind.
Yeah, the life of a prophet. But look at the new message. It's so tender. God says he's the God of David, thy father, linking back to the royal line. And then he says,
I have heard your prayer. I have seen your tears.
he heard the logic and he saw the emotion. He acknowledges both.
And then comes the new verdict. I will add to your days 15 years.
15 years. It's so specific, not just you'll get better, but a specific quantifiable extension on his life.
A lease extension.
Right. And on top of that, I will heal you. So the immediate crisis is solved and the timeline is extended.
Which brings us to the sign. Because apparently you don't just take a prophet's word for it, you ask for a receipt.
You need confirmation. And the sign God offers is it's astronomical.
The sundial of Ahaz. Help us understand what this thing actually was. It's not a watch.
No, not at all. It was most likely a monumental structure. Probably a series of steps where a shadow would move down them throughout the day.
A giant shadow clock.
Exactly. And the sign God proposes is to make the shadow go backward 10 degrees, or 10 steps. So the shadow, which only ever goes down, is going to go back up.
Let's just pause on that. To make a shadow move backward, you have to either reverse the Earth's rotation or, bend light in a way that just defies physics.
It's a fundamental suspension of the laws of nature.
But why? Why a sign that big? Why not something smaller?
I think the scale of the sign had to match the scale of the promise. Hezekiah was facing death, an irreversible natural process. So to prove he could reverse the irreversible in Hezekiah's body.
He reversed the irreversible in the solar system.
It's a massive display of sovereignty. God is essentially saying, if I can turn back time on these stairs, I can turn back the clock on your cells.
Wow. So Hezekiah gets his 15 years. But the story doesn't end there. Isaiah 38 gives us his reflection on the whole thing.
And this is where we get the real why. He processes the trauma.
There's one line that just jumps out. He says, behold, for peace I had great bitterness.
The original language there is so rich. It's something like, it was for my own good, for my own shalom, that I went through this terrible bitterness.
That's a tough pill to swallow. This near-death experience was good for me.
It is. But he explains it. He says, God, in love, delivered his soul from the pit of corruption and cast all my sins behind your back.
So the crisis was a purifying event for him.
It seems so. It looks like the bitterness of almost dying forced him into a deeper, more honest relationship with God. The result wasn't just more years of life, it was true peace.
And his response becomes communal. He says, we will sing my songs all the days of our life in the house of the Lord.
Yeah, notice that shift from I to we. His private miracle becomes a public testimony, and he commits to it for the rest of his life, which he now knows is exactly 15 years.
He's not just going back to business as usual.
How could you? You don't go back to normal after you've seen the sun move backward.
So we've gone through this story. The verdict, the prayer, the reversal. What's the takeaway? What does the person listening to this do with it?
Well, the sources point to a really powerful truth about prayer.
Oh.
Psalm 34 tells us that God's ears are open unto their cry.
So he's paying attention. He's not distant.
Right. And then you have James 5.1 scene, the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much.
And that word fervent is key. Hezekiah's prayer wasn't just some polite request. It was hot. It was desperate.
And that's what made it effectual. It was real.
It brings me back to this idea of agency. I think so many of us feel like we're just passengers. The doctor says this, the boss says that, and we just have to accept it.
And this story just completely challenges that passivity. It's basically saying, do not accept the verdict until you have made the petition.
That's it right there.
It is. The verdict, a medical diagnosis, a termination letter, that's often just the logical conclusion based on the current facts. But prayer invites a supernatural factor into the equation.
Now, we have to be careful here. This isn't a guarantee that God will always give you 15 more years.
Absolutely not, and that's critical. Sometimes the answer is no. But the lesson from Hezekiah isn't that God always says yes, it's that God is always willing to hear the appeal.
The outcome isn't guaranteed, but the hearing is.
Exactly. Hezekiah didn't know what would happen when he turned to that wall. He just knew he had to ask.
So for you listening, maybe you feel like you're staring at a wall right now. Maybe you've received some kind of final sounding verdict in your own life.
The invitation from this story is to turn your face away from all the other voices, the experts, the fears, and turn toward the one authority who outranks them all.
Make your case. Let him see your tears.
Because you just never know when the messenger might get stopped in the courtyard and sent back with a completely new message.
Before we sign off, there's one last thought I can't shake. It's about that sundial.
The sheer scale of it.
Yeah. We look at our problems, our impossible situations, and they feel so solid, so heavy, like mountains.
But if the very rotation of our planet, the physics of time and light, are like soft clay in God's hands.
Exactly. If he can literally rewind the day just to confirm a promise to one person, how big is your problem, really?
It just completely redefines what's possible. Impossible is just a setting on the dial. He can change anytime he wants.
The shadow can move backward. Just remember that.
Oh!
Thanks for diving in with us.
Until next time.